Hello, I'm Micaiah Stevens. This is a channel update for February 1st, 2019. I work for a company called Haven Studios, and I am currently working on a game for Hamlet on Steam in early access. You can search for it on Steam. There's also a free demo you can download. Anyways, I just want to move this video on, so you can reach me at through email at support@havenstudios.net, or you can just make comments in the videos below. I'm easily, I love to, I'm open to contact and very easily accessible. Anyway, so this is the channel update for February 1st, 2019. I'm just gonna fly through some of these topics because I don't want to make. I often record I just recorded a 30-minute video. It was like 30 some odd minutes, and it was just, it was kind of a lot of rambling, a lot of confusion, and so I'm just going to try to work through these topics, and sort of, if you have any more ideas or concerns about these topics, please post in the comments below, and I'm happy to sort of expand upon the ideas. But anyway, so we in working for Haven Studios, part of, and so we have a work time ethic that we're going to talk about, and that relates purely to, we wanted to talk about this is the main focus of this video, is the work time, is, in working for an early access game on Steam, how much time are we putting into the game, and how much time are we putting into programming and development. And that's sort of the main focus of this channel update, to sort of give the precursor to some of the ideas, and sort of to the, the kind of the idea that we're going to, want to improve the channel, and these are the various ways we think we can do it. So let's get right into work time. So work time ethics is it's just kind of this general idea of the 70-30 rule for us. Sometimes it's called the 4/5, or you can also sometimes think about working. It's this idea, essentially working for 11 months out of the year for yourself, or for the working 11 months out of the year for your company, and then the company gives you December off, or however you want to work it out with them. It's not just like, hey, it's not a vacation. It's an idea that you're going to improve and work on yourself through, through learning, through development, through sort of side projects. Also, another big example. Sometimes you're working on this major, major awesome, AAA title, and then they sort of have, weekends, a weekend once a month or something, that, or a week once a month or something, that you can work on. Maybe they'll work on a company project, various things. So for Haven Studios, since it's Haven Studios is an indie studio, I'm sort of the main driving force behind it, and I'm also the lead programmer, and I'm trying to build up the company. It's a studio and not a sort of a formal company right now, and it just gives us a I just have always it's strange. I've got a 4-year business degree, and it's like, I just business and working for companies, and it just feels like the right thing to do. And I've always wanted to work for a company, always wanted to work for my own company. So that's kind of the general idea here. Anyway, so part of that company's policies, and I'm hoping to continue, if this other, is this idea that we work 70% on the main project, which is Hamlet, and then we have 30% other time devoted to, especially as a programmer, you really need to improve your skills, learn other languages, learn other skills. For me, it's following tutorials, interestingly enough, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And also too, it's like, we're not saying, hey, this is 70% of 40-hour work weeks, such as in America, people work 8 hours a day for 5 days a week equals 40 hours a day. These are 12 to 20 hours, depending on the day. It's, I think the average is 16, but it's between 12 and 20 hours a day. That, and it's just part of, I'm a workaholic. And so anyways, the schedule goes pretty much for that 12 to 16, depending on if I work. Anyways, so if it's, let's say if it's 16 hours a day, or or whatever. I think 16, probably 12 is probably better. Anyway, so we take a half hour for breakfast, waking up, watch a YouTube video, get sort of like a fun video, like Direwolf20's Minecraft series or something right now. Anyway, so we'll have breakfast, watch a video, have coffee, and then we'll kick off our work day. and then we'll work, and then sort of, listen to music videos, do various things, work on various projects. And that's, also too, it's like I work, I've worked on 3 separate projects this week, which we'll get to maybe next and Devlog 1. Anyway, and then we sort of get so that's sort of the 70%, and then we just get so overwhelmed working on the same thing that we also put in some time. I don't remember if there's any. I don't think there was any downtime. I think we put in some some downtime into other stuff. And then part of that is also the 70/30 is just the work week. We also sort of force ourselves. I think that's why we're more down to 12 hours a day, because we're forcing ourselves to take time off for gaming. And that's part of the Micaiah Gaming channel, where our goal is to put a half-hour video out a day. And that sometimes we'll record 6 or 8 videos in a day, and then we'll take the week off. I think we have 4 more videos saved up for the Dragoncliff series that we're working on right now. And then, I have tons of other, I'll play Minecraft or something on the weekend. I'm not sure what we're going to do this weekend because we got a lot of stuff planned. Anyway, so a lot of stuff planned is because of Hamlet is releasing for February 1st. 70% of that time is working on Hamlet. We've overdone that. Definitely, I think we're up to 40, 50, 60 hours already, and it's Friday morning, sort of, as we're recording this. For us, it's really early in the morning, but it's sort of, we're on that schedule. We have an adventure mode, which is kind of akin to Dwarf Fortress. We thought that was just kind of fun. Everybody loves Dwarf Fortress, so it's kind of we thought this would be a great roguelike name, because we needed a name for a roguelike, and it's adventure. So that'll come out this weekend. So we're still got 40, 60 hours into that project, or into that sort of update. Which is kind of like, it's sort of the culmination of 3 months of work, which is kind of like, that's sort of the idea here, is like, wow, if it takes us 3 months to work on an update, it's going to take, a couple of years to come out, which is kind of okay with us, because that's sort of our plan, but we want to do it in a year. So, and I think in the next couple months, we'll start to see more updates, especially as we go to beta content, or a beta branch, I should say. It's Steam's terminology. Anyway, so we're talking to Mr. Sir on Mr. Anchor. Whew! How do I get this correctly? It's his online name, so hopefully you're not naming him. Anyway, so we're talking to him about releasing content, and he was like, hey, people want more content, and we totally can see that. In these early access, they're just it's been 6 months and it hasn't been an update. Well, we feel like it's been 3 months, but part of that's we talk about that in the devlog, so I should mention here, part of this working for Hamlet is we're going to start putting out devlogs for Hamlet, and kind of in the vein of a Euilinox. We think that's a really good example. They won't be as cool as a Euilinox. I love his food prep and share his time out in the town and showcasing the awesome area he lives in. I don't know. Well, hopefully we'll get to there someday. But we have just kind of the similar vein of this for devlogs, and there'll be some code in there and talk about that. So I'll be part of this. 70% working on Hamlet, and then 30% of the time is working on tutorials. We'll continue to really enjoy the tutorials we do watch. This tutorial happens to be from a person for Quil18 Creates, and we'll still watch his gaming channel as well, but he has a tutorial, sort of 4X strategy game called Project Caprica, and then we're going to start releasing sort of a mini series on something we're calling Project Canada. These videos will be out of order. We have recorded I thought I released more of these videos, but apparently I didn't. So there is a ton of these videos, there's a ton of these videos I never got out, so that we'll have to sort of, it's all going to be branded. Maybe I'll just call it Project Canada #1, add it to a playlist, might be a good idea. Anyways, we'll see a ton of, and that's just part of that 30% work time that we feel, and that's one of the reasons when we started working, we were working on the dungeon game for a long time, for a number of years, and then we sort of said, hey, we want to work on a very serious project now, through a full game, and sort of come out with a game that we can put out for a low price point, but feel like it's actually, instead of kind of a smaller game. Anyway, so we had a decision between RPG and Space Game and the RPG went out, but there's a lot of content that we sort of threw together, and that's all part of Project Canada. We took every single space content we had, space sci-fi genre. I think about 90% of it is thrown into this project, and got everything to work. And it's called Project Canada now, which the main driving force is kind of using the tutorials to build. And this is part of this screenshot is actually part of an asteroid system that was sort of talked about but was never included. That's sort of the thing about, I have 20 years of development, so when we do these videos, it's like we expand upon them, which kind of leads great. Oh no, it kind of leads great into our next topic, which is video responses. So in watching these tutorials, we feel like as watching tutorials are a great idea, and learning through that, we also like to do the video responses. I think the DapperDino was our latest one, talking about a notification system, and one of the feedback we've got on these videos is one comment. But anyways, we feel, for every one comment, it feels like there's every one person that does or says something, there's at least 10 people that have the same thought, but it's the one person that's commenting, so they really do represent a lot more people than just one comment. But we're kind of really small. Anyway, so it's like, what's the point of these videos? And part of it is just to say, hey, there's this really awesome tutorial that we think is great, and we're learning something from. But it's also sort of a giving credit to people, which we love doing, such as DapperDino, who's kind of a smaller YouTube guy, or series, or YouTube channel. But it's like, also, hey, I have 20 years of programming experience, and it's like, it's hard to fathom that. But now, in doing these video responses and kind of keep updating this channel, it really highlights in my mind just how much that experience is. And it's sort of, I think I have, and sort of helping, it's sort of goodwill and sort of volunteer time to help other people with their ideas and their projects, and to take them further. And then too, if it happens like with SharpAccent and CodeHoose, we're both working on a roguelike, and we just sort of dumped that into our RPG roguelike game that eventually became entitled Hamlet. And it's like, it's sort of, I've gotten, almost 14 years of working. I think it's insane amount of years working on this dungeon-like game. I should kind of find the exact number that we started working on this official roguelike game, and which was on top of another video sort of series that we started with, that sort of all folded all our games into this dungeon-like game that we coalesced in this dungeon-like game. Anyway, so it's a number of years. So it's kind of, and anyway, so the main driving force is that these will continue. They're really helpful to me, if nothing else, and I think it's a great way to share with the community. And maybe that's just it. It just kind of feels like volunteer, sort of, hey, this is cool. Thanks for doing these videos. And it's like if and it's like the biggest sort of response I'm looking for is if the person, I think quite a few people, and like CodeHoose actually mentioned me in one of his videos, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, it's like, wow, it's so awesome. It's just, that really, like, cool, but and then part of that is like, it makes me feel bad, because it's like CodeHoose and SharpAccent are working on 2D roguelikes, which are the main driving force. Like, we talk about Moria, which is our main, the one we used to play a lot, which is a true text-based RPG. We're just kind of trying to update that into a 3D environment, but more on that in the videos future. Anyway, so then we have this new idea. In game development, we're sort of in this field of game development, which is part of the ethics. The work ethic is it's sort of the affirmation of your field, and and it's sort of the general philosophy. There's a good philosophy of working in game development, which is our primary field, through designing and programming. Anyway, so if you ask me what was my dream job in what's my dream job in game development, I would say game designer. It's always been my number one job. I've always wanted to do. I love it's the creative side of thing, and being a game designer is truly gives you that creative freedom to do whatever you want. And I think that's sort of it. It's like when it's like writing books is sort of the most creative, I think, because it's like there's no limit to except for telling the story and sort of how to tell the story and various things. But in game design, it's this kind of general idea, and I've talked a lot about this over the years. But this is just general idea of ideas are worthless, and it's like I don't agree with that at all. Ideas are quite valuable, and that's kind of what the game designer does. Um, anyway, so it's like, and so but for me, it's like to get into the game development field, it's like programming is I really do enjoy programming. So it's like it's sort of the main focus and the driving factor of all this. But I think we'll have more game design video. Sort of have a playlist of game design, and then we'll start adding in more content to that. And it's not just like, hey, I'm going to play a game. These are actually topics and sort of papers, vlogs on game design. And the first one we're talking about, I'm not sure if I lost this video, but I have a general idea of character archetypes. You can think of the three character archetypes as a preview of a tank, healer, and DPS, and then you sort of break that down further into a warrior, a rogue, or a healer, or a priest, or whatever. And it's like, to me, it's like, is that sort of the D&D archetypes? And it's like, is that really the path forward for these roguelikes and RPG games? And it's sort of talking about this sort of, I think it's sort of talking about these ideas, and these are not like in I have future content in Hamlet that is as dungeons and inventory are two main driving factors that are coming quite soon. Other unreleased content that we're still working on, so it's not promised. But then we have this idea of, hey, far into the future, we'd like to work on character, these, much more unique gameplay elements. And I think these character archetypes and sort of the reasons are going to be the reasons of the driving force behind the game and why. And talking about game, like, and talking about a roguelike, oh, it's really cool, it's a roguelike. And then you're like, oh, it's not, it's a 3D roguelike. And they're like, or, rogue. And then they're like, oh, that's not a roguelike. And then you're like, oh, well, now it's like, it's dungeon with overview. And they're like, oh, so it's like, it's the design decisions to get to that point of why Hamlet is the game it is. And part of that is talking about, and that's just part of getting back to my love of game design. But I want to do these in real true, like, try to progress. I don't know if it would be sort of try to progress the field. Try to make my mark, or sort of talk about these things and sort of design decisions. And is one of the papers I wrote a long time ago is game design art or science. And it's like, it's one of those really difficult things where it's like design is sort of artsy, where it's like creative, but then you also have to get to the actual science behind game design. Anyways, so that's sort of the quick overview of the video. We talked about the channel update for Haven Studios. Well, it's kind of the company I work for, but this is kind of the personal channel of Micaiah Stevens. We talked about the work ethic, having a 70-30 or 4/5 work ethic, or or 16 of 20 hours a day, or whatever it comes out to be. And then too, it's not always like maybe I'll take Saturday off, or take Monday off or whatever, and play a game or do something different. That's sort of this idea that also it's 70% of work time, and it's not taking 30% off, it's taking 30% to improve as a programmer, working through tutorials, which is, I didn't talk about that, but it's crazy how tutorials are the driving force of learning. And it's even though I'm way beyond a lot of them, it's just really cool to sort of, it gives me a focus and something to think about, and then do something with them, which is kind of where it's like you sort of improve with the tutorials. Anyway, so the driving force of that 70% will be the Hamlet, and we'll have a devlog with that also. And then the Project Canada will also be part of that 30%, where we're still working on Unity and programming and developing, tutorials. Project Canada is also sort of the idea of 30% working on tutorials. I think there's CodeHoose has some new videos coming out pretty soon. Then the video responses, according to the tutorials, will mostly through the tutorials. Maybe we'll talk about, I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't really seen a lot of game design videos out there. Maybe I should try to find some more and respond to some of those. Anyways, and then also the final um, new chapter in Micaiah Stevens' channel for the programming side will be game design. And these are they're not me playing games. If you want to see me play games, go check out the gaming channel. These are just going to be sort of PowerPoints and papers and topics, and they might include code, and it just depends on how I feel like the best way to one of the game designs was like talking about the this is also programming design or programming as well. One of the major things we did on this recently is sort of not separate from game design, is we did a strategy pattern for and we showed a lot of showcase a project that we were sort of working on that's very different. And anyways, so I'm Micaiah Stevens. You can reach me at support@havenstudios.net. Thanks for checking out Micaiah Stevens' channel. I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big person on. I appreciate the people who do subscribe, and really it is nice. I do want to sort of build up the channel more and get more feedback, and then sort of take it from there. We've been talking about doing tutorials as well. That's something so maybe if a topic for comments would be tutorials. Would you like to see tutorials? What kind of tutorials? We have a really interesting idea for tutorial, and part of it for me, it's like I don't want to do major tutorials on this. Although we have several tutorials on systems that we work with, so that could be good. There's sort of people have asked us how do you do action points for a character, and we're like, oh, and we showed, so we built some minor, used. But anyway, so that's. But then we also have this idea for projects that we're not sort of going to implement maybe soon at some point, but hey, we think this is a really good topic that we don't see a lot of videos on, or good ones at least. So anyway, so thanks for checking out the channel update for Micaiah Stevens. I should end the video because it could get very long if I don't. Thank you very much. You take care. Oh, that's not how you end a video. Oh, pro, real pro. Oh, we're over here. You take care.